What up, y'all? Welcome to the inaugural episode of Blake's Take². I'm Blake Whitehouse, for those of you that don't know, with my co-host over here, Trey Reeves. A lot of y'all don't know about us, don't know about the podcast we've been doing. We're veterans out here. I know everybody got podcasts nowadays and shit, but we've been out here, so we just want to get ourselves reintroduced here before we get into everything we're going to get into, because as y'all know, we'll touch on everything here. So just to get a little bit of reintroduction back here, I'm Blake Whitehouse again. I'm broadcasting live currently from Morton Grove, Illinois, northern suburbs. I'm not from the city. I'm not going to front. Told y'all Chicago when I met you in Ohio because y'all don't know the cities here. So just to get that clear before we get any deeper into that shit. But yes, Morton broadcasting live, rent-free from Morton Grove out here, rent-free in real life and in domes. But me and Trey came to meet over at Ohio State. Trey is broadcasting currently from Columbus as we speak. He's still out there.
In the city, not in the suburbs. I'm in the city.
He's Trey's from Canton.
Just throwing that out there.
Clear. He's not from Columbus. He's from Canton, Ohio.
I'm from the city of Canton, Ohio, the northeast side, and I'm currently staying in Franklinton in the city of Columbus. Just
that's Trey. Like, listen, we got to have the burbs represented too. You know, we got to have some
of that. Suburban guy, man. I tried it out for a year out there in the quarry. Just they my cup of tea, man.
Oh. But anyways, yeah, so we're broadcasting out here from Morton Grove, which is a change of pace for me. We were out in Columbus last round for Blake's Takes, the original little podcast we had going, and different circumstances since the last time we recorded. I think it was December 2019 was around the last time we did an episode. Little bit different shit going on in the world and in our lives here, so I figured we'd also get caught up on that as well. Trey, if you care to speak on your kind of background too.
My background, from Canton, Ohio, born and raised, small little city. It's beautiful. The skyline is absolutely gorgeous as you come into the city. It's my favorite part of the city, honestly. Went to Ohio State, met Blake, met a couple other people. I didn't graduate. He has his little degree behind him. Just casual above his right shoulder. I didn't graduate, but I was there for a couple of years, got what I needed, and then I went to start working in restaurants. Went to culinary school, graduated from there, became a chef, man. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Chef Reeves over here, and that's where we kind of left off. I think podcast, like for everybody that did listen before and shit, was with the situation before. Since then, we actually lived together. Which, yes, for everyone wondering, it was as adorable as you probably envision it being. But we did better, I think, than most would assume. I think a lot of people imagine us living together, which that was our third residence, believe it or not. I think living in together. So we got a nice little Robin Big journey going here, Trey. Whether you like it or not.
That was the second one, wasn't it?
No, the dorms count.
I guess you count the dorms, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had 3 different lives together. Their lives living in the same residence, not together at this point. Yeah. So I figured getting caught up to kind of what came between why we stopped, for me at least, why the creative energy for me was kind of gone, but also all the shit that's been going on in our lives since then. So I'll kind of get started in terms of, so when we stopped filming last time, and before I even get into it too, part of why I did want to do this is a lot of what we've spoken on before. I think I've realized with time to contextualize is important. I think we did talk about a lot of important shit before a lot of people were, I think. Like a lot of the conversations we were having are popular conversations to have now, are conversations that people find to be very important for people from diverse backgrounds and shit to have, and we were just having these. So I think we do have an interesting perspective. I'll bring up some of the things, we've seen and participated in shit. With everything going on, but as far as the podcast and shit, a lot of the stuff we talk about in here, I think did end up being really relevant, really important, even though we didn't talk about shit for a year. And with this, I think part of my and part of the broader context too, in terms of what people are realizing during this pandemic and all this, is that men don't really talk about this shit. Like, it's very interesting to me. I asked a lot of my male friends, like you talk to, I got a lot of female friends as well, and females, y'all know each other's entire relationship histories. Y'all discuss it.
Absolutely.
Y'all, and as y'all should. That's why I hit my listen. When I need some relationship advice, men, none of y'all are getting asked. Y'all were dumb. We're dumb. We're just dumb.
Yeah.
And
like remember when I sent you that article? I sent it in like a group, and like nobody was like, blah, well, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, and even
some real shit in this article, man. Like it's real.
Yeah, like down to relationship stuff. Like I don't even know how almost any of my day one homies relationship things have played out. We just don't talk about it. And I feel like that's very fucking rare to go to a group of women, especially close friends, and like they know each other's histories. And it plays a part in friendships, I feel like, and shit. But and in terms of like broadcasting it out to the world and shit, it just is not a normal thing for, I don't know. So it's interesting to me that obviously everybody has shit going on during the pandemic. Like the pandemic has caused a lot of things, but outside of that, we've had a lot of other shit everybody's been dealing with as well. And men, I feel like, just don't really talk about that shit as much. So I figured it'd be a good way to kind of get caught up in terms of what's been going on with me, why, in terms of this shit. I've been out for a year. I'm sure you've had stuff too. I don't know if you've heard all of this. Some of it you might have, some of it not. But I feel like it's something that men should get to doing a little bit more, is just kind of, y'all should know my story because it, I think, helps contextualize a lot of shit. So I don't got nothing to hide, and I think it's important for men to talk about it. So with that being said, so last December-ish we had just moved in together right around. For me, this is 4 or 5 months before pandemic. This was already probably the most turbulent point in my life I've ever had. Literally, this shit looked like a Lifetime movie. As I was starting a new job, which was the first like 40-hour a week, real life job that a lot of us have seen what it takes out of us, that I'd done in a few years. And I was semi looking forward to it. I got trapped. I'll get into a little bit more of that. But as I was starting this new job, I'm moving in with Trey, and my ex at the time, who I'd lived with for years, we had a dog together, is moving to Florida. On top of this, we're moving into an apartment in the same complex. So I'm clearing out the apartment across the way. Me and Trey are moving to a new one as my ex is moving to Florida with my dog, and I'm starting a new job. This shit was, my life had no stability for a minute there. And I've kind of learned like just to navigate in it, but literally it was like a comedy show. Like I was going in, it was sad as fuck in the other apartment. I came in here, we have this whole new, like, then I wake up and go to work. Like, what the fuck is going on? So I had that going on, which took a lot out of me, the relationshipy stuff. She moved away, as I don't need to name names. People that know who people are going to know who they are. If I want to name names on this, I'm going to name names. I'm not a good enemy to have for y'all that think I'm not going to name you, but I'm not petty.
For all our viewers out there, they will see it.
Oh, hey, y'all that think you ain't going to get name dropped. All them cover my meds people. Ooh-wee, but we'll get to that. So she moved out, and within like 2 months, I had to pick this apart over time. Got engaged, became like super big into religion and all this shit, like very just baffling. We had a good, post dating communication. We lived together for a year after dating. Don't necessarily recommend that to everybody. Interesting experience, but we were cordial. And then all of a sudden, like, new human engaged and shit. So that's been a very just baffling scenario to go through. So shouts to Drake. Thank you for all the trust issue music. I now understand where all that comes from and the purpose for it. So I won't hate on Drake anymore. I get it. But so we had that going on.
Just a quick sidebar. This man hated for Drake for years.
I didn't hate Drake.
Years in the middle of his prime.
I hated that he was compared to Kendrick. That was my now we're good. Now I got he makes music for people in my position now. So now I'm a fan. We're good. So while all that's going on in the midst of all this shit, in the midst of starting the new job, figuring all that out, I had a death in the family, which for me is, I wouldn't say like good at death. I don't like that term, but like I'm pretty acclimated in my head to like the natural cycle of it. Like it was a grandparent. It wasn't anything insanely out of nowhere. But for my family and shit, I'm the oldest grandchild on both sides. So that becomes like a whole different type of burden thing with everything. So I had that going on. So all this leading up to going into 2020, where I think a lot of people, I don't know what it was, a lot of people looked at 2020 like, all right, here we go. Gonna change all this shit, get some stability. That's what I was looking forward to. I had all that going on. Once we hit the pandemic, it became interesting because the job I had worked, I told you a little bit about it. Cover my meds. Y'all gonna be in the crosshairs for a while. Get used to your names coming out my mouth. in ways that y'all aren't gonna like. But uh, worked there. They framed, and people in Columbus know this, framed very progressively, super progressive, known as being one of the most ahead of the curve to a lot of people. Even when, like towards the end when I was working there, I would say, "Oh yeah, I work at Cover My Meds," and people were like, "Oh my god, I heard they do da da da." And what I've learned since then, and I think a lot of people are learning how politics work nowadays, but is that a lot of it was a front. I'm embarrassed almost that I consider myself pretty ahead of this type of shit and real recognize real and all that shit. And I think I got to an extent, Trey. I don't know how else to put it. The free food and the free all that shit was nice, but I think you realize, they figured out how to get millennials. I think that's my biggest realization from that company is like these companies that do the same shit as everyone else have figured out how to hook, line, and sinker millennials. The free beer, the free food,
Yeah.
you can wear what you want, you could be yourself. Da, 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 da. What they didn't expect was the Black Lives Matter movement this year or in 2020 to culminate the way it did. And that's when shit got really interesting for me because I'm not the person to keep my mouth shut for pretty much anything. And this felt like a point to me where I felt like I needed to say something. And I had literally at the time, I was thinking about moving to Chicago. And in the middle of all this, I decided to stay in Columbus because I felt genuinely like, oh, Cover My Meds, super progressive. We're in a position to make a difference in this. They're going to put their money where their mouths are. And so I electively decided to kind of become the lightning rod for this shit at the company. A lot of people, I'm sure now, are super familiar with Slack and all those internal forms of communication that most workplaces are limited to now. So that's where all of our stuff was taking place. And I, in the public channels with 1,500, whatever it is, people, decided to be the person to start calling certain shit out. So this company, again, very progressive. And as we learned through not only the pandemic, but through the Black Lives Matter movement at its peak last year in terms of the protests, is where companies really stand because people got to the point where they were able to turn to their companies and say, all right, what are you going to do about this? And they decided to blackball me, which was fucking wild. So the way this played out without delving too crazy into it is I jumped into the Slack channel and they wanted to kind of go about business. Everybody that works there right now knows when things happened, they tried to be one of those companies that, was going to try and go about their daily business and try to let their Black employees act like this was not happening and that they should just do their job. Like it was just awkward. It's just awkward. Like if it was a normal workplace, it would have been awkward. Online, I think they thought they could get more away with it. And I just put it on below. I was like, hey, nobody thinks this is normal. Y'all need to do something. Like other companies are doing stuff. We have resources. And the president of the company, I didn't know at the time, David Holliday, is I think the 4 cities prior to Columbus that he lived in. We got Tulsa, we got Nashville, we got where else we got? Norman, white, pasty white, and more pasty white is where he's from. So I'm pretty sure I know and understand now that this company, just like all the other companies, is aligned with the status quo much more than it's aligned with actually doing the right thing and actually standing with the correct side of history, even if it's not necessarily easy to tell half your employee base you're wrong, whatever it is. And so amongst all of this, they, instead of turning to me and kind of, because I felt as a white person, and tell me if I'm wrong, if you would feel differently in a workplace like this, but, and I had other people reach out to me, but as a white person, I had to say something there because people of color don't have that ability to speak out at a company like that without being shot down. One, like the voice is different for no reason other than color in that kind of business environment, and for the understanding of it not going all the way up the ladder. Like it just would would not work like that. And I don't think a lot of people felt safe being a person to attract that kind of attention. And I knew that, like, it's just I don't think that burden is correct to put on anybody who's in the group that's being affected. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I think where you went wrong was expecting a corporation of any level to actually be down for, a revolutionary type of movement. It's just not gonna happen, bro. No, like It's all facade now. And I've been trying to tell you this for years. That Nike shit that couple of years ago when they was trying to support Kaepernick, it's all about selling whatever they're trying to sell. It's all a marketing ploy. I drive downtown, I see the Black Lives Matter cover my meds ad, yada yada yada. It's all bullshit. It's all because it's popular and it's all in the now, and it's just that's the new marketing ploy. That's the new trendy thing to do, to sell whatever your product is. That's
Yeah,
what they're
and
gonna do out here.
it's sad. It's
And that's the
sad,
end
and
of it.
it's ironic in a lot of, like, even seeing that too. Like the day after they fired me, they went and threw up their Black Lives Matter banner to cover
Yeah, yeah.
face and
It's
shit.
not. Come on.
And
Like
it's
they don't
just
care.
like,
It's
but
just
and it's a combination of, it's wild to me that it works, but then again, like being somebody that it semi worked on, I'm like after I got fired, I felt like I got out of a cult. Literally, I was like, wow, this shit wasn't what I thought it was. Now that I can view it from this outside perspective, and especially in terms of that, like the way they hire, the way they recruit, their employee base, if you walk into the room, is recruited as such in a way that's like, hey, we are you want diversity, you want this, you want, that's what you want to stand for, we're that. And so I think the brazenness of the framing was what got me. Like, oh, you're not gonna puff your chest out and be like, we're about this shit. Like, oh, you don't think we support gay people? Well, here's but it's easy. It's easy to, and they know how to do this. Here's a gay couple on the front page of our website or the front page of this, and they understand to play it politically. Like, it doesn't
it's
mean
like in Ohio State, like when you get the brochures when you come to Ohio State, you see like the black kid hanging out with the Asian kid with the white kid under some tree, and it's sunny outside, and it's like, yeah, look at this. This is college, man. This shit ain't like that. Asians is with Asians, black people with the black people, and the white people. It's just
I
like,
mix it
come
up.
on,
I'm
man.
not. I was.
Yeah,
I
me too,
like to
me
mix
too.
it up,
I'm just talking about the
but yeah,
vast
no, it's definitely
majority.
not like that. So I definitely felt like I got trapped into thinking that to an extent. I was happy that I regret nothing. I was happy as fuck. Not only that I like pushed it to where I did, but that like I got, while this was all playing out, I got messages from hella people that were like, hey, I don't feel, comfortable putting it, because I was aggressive. I was like, hey, y'all aren't doing enough. People see it. Like, I wasn't being politically correct. I understood my ass was on the line. And I had a lot of people reach out and appreciate it. So that made it worth it. But the way they put me out, and this is important because it's just, again, getting caught in the corporate wild shit and seeing what they were willing to do to not do something was like, they were willing to do so much more to do nothing than to do not much to actually do shit. Like, they could have put a statement out. They could have done so many things. And instead, what they did to me was they got to my Twitter. And it wasn't, I still don't know who it was. They never let me know who did it. But some people anonymously reported tweets I had, which, one, any company ever tells you can't. They let Trump be on Twitter till last fucking week. So to say anything I said on Twitter was destructive or whatever is wild, and like, now that we have some context with what Twitter can really lead to and shit. But also in terms of, at the time, like, the blackball nature of it, like in a workplace, to have that brought up is so wild, because everybody, especially now, like anybody that has any type of corporate job that wants to take part in the modern social movements that are going on, uses social media to broadcast their opinions. So to
Blake,
even
but
bring
also
that in,
the second part where you went wrong is you be saying some wild shit on Twitter, and to have
wild.
your name attached to that, to lose a job is kind of dumb.
Oh,
On your
I didn't give a
behalf.
no.
Like,
But
come on.
see, here's,
Like, I know you didn't care, but like, come on. Most people aren't
I'm not
gonna be
most
like,
people.
they're not. That's what I'm saying. They're not in that circumstance like, oh, I can afford to just spout off wild shit to lose my job. You know what I mean? Most people
No,
ain't
but
thinking like,
it wasn't even like the shit I spouted wasn't anything to do with the situation at the company. Like, that would be
right,
different. But
just in general.
oh
Like,
no,
you
but
just
that doesn't matter. Like the wild shit I would spew was wild on the side of good. Like, it would be wild shit in terms of, oh, yo, Lindsey Graham is trash and I hope he dies. Like,
right, yeah, like,
so
but to
what?
have your name,
It's cool.
but the thing is, like, if you want to say shit like that, cool, but just keep your real name and your persona off
Well, my
of
face is on it now, so
actual.
I don't know what we're gonna do.
So I'm saying,
But
like, but it's
no,
already
but
in past now. But
Joe, well, but way past that, Joe Freshgoods. Before I get back to the story here, Joe Freshgoods had a great tweet, and he said, "Now I do interviews when a company wants me, with a do rag and a blunt in my mouth. If you want me, you get me, or you don't get me." I like that. That's where
yeah,
I'm at.
yeah,
But so I didn't mind any of that shit. It was the way it happened that was wild. And so the shit that popped up with that, again, to get back to my narrative after that, that made it that much more significant was after the fact, I had a lot of people reach out to me, and this is what I want people to know. I'm not going to bring it up a ton. They don't get a ton of my energy, but I had a lot of people reach out to me after the fact that had gotten fired from Cover My Meds that had been through way worse shit than me. One, they weaponize NDAs, which are non-disclosure agreements, which the day they fired me during a pandemic, they tried to leverage that into a severance. So basically, for people that don't understand what necessarily that means, I was employed by them during the pandemic. They don't know that I could tuck back home and have free rent. They have no idea what my setup is. I could be fucked if I get fired from there. I could have kids. They don't know. And so they decided to tell me that I had the option of signing a non-disclosure agreement, which is I cannot publicly speak anything about this company, which is insanity in this scenario. Like, I can't believe that companies use this shit, but they tried to force me to sign an NDA and leveraged any severance pay with it. So basically they said, you can go get fucked and walk away during this pandemic with nothing from us from here on out, or you can take severance, which is normal in most companies, but you can never speak on this again. I told them to shove it up their asses, which I was lucky to be able to do. Not everyone can, but that's, again, scenario wise, like, I was sitting here with NDAs at my doorstep after getting like, yo, what the fuck is going on? What timeline is this? But so Cover My Meds in general. But before I, again, to wrap up that end of it here, Cover My Meds, not about it. Blackballed me the fuck out of there, and ended up being the reason I pivoted from there and came back to Chicago. It has been a phenomenal change of pace. Being around the potential industry that's around here when things open up again, hopefully at some point soon, is great. So it all worked out perfectly well. Also, in the midst of all of that, in the beginning of the pandemic, I almost forgot, I got my baby Gigi, the best dog on planet Earth. And that is about all that has happened in my life since then. So a little bit going on. We had a pandemic thrown in there as well that I think everybody has had to figure shit out with, but we'll get into more of that later on. We got time for pandemic stuff, but I know that was a lot. I don't think you've had as adventurous of a ride since.
Yeah, I'm a little more drama free than my cohort here. Yeah, it's pretty funny how it follows you. It's like a cloud over your head or something.
Really is.
Yeah, but my life's been cool, man. I mean, it was really like leading up to 2020, like shit was real smooth. Like I had just got the head chef spot at a little restaurant. You know, things were moving in the right direction for me. You know, got in a relationship. Everything was super smooth. I started to like grow up, get some big boy shit in my life, and then pandemic kind of halted a lot of that. You know, uh, and then I had to kind of pivot. I was riding out unemployment for a while. Shout out to that federal unemployment. That shit was hitting for real. Rode that out for a little while, and then I kind of figured out where I wanted to go and got a little spot now. Just working part time, doing what I got to do to hustle and bustle and make ends meet, and thrive out here. You gotta get some money in America, or they're not gonna care about you because they don't care about poor people in America. You gotta get some money, or you're just gonna be out here struggling.
What are you talking about? They're gonna give us $1,200 to fix 10 months of shit, Trey. We gonna be good.
Yeah, man.
100 a month, whatever it is. It's enough, peasants.
A slice of bread a month. That's what you get to eat.
But before, also to go back a little bit into some shit that we did go through together before I moved out here and shit, and just during, this is middle of pandemic, middle of everything, was the Black Lives Matter protest.
Oh, the protest, yeah.
And because we both were out at that, and even just to move back to, I know I mentioned before, like we've had conversations and shit in the past that are important, and I think we've had experiences at this point that are important, and like. I keep the one that's come back to me, and we haven't talked about it in a while, is I'll never forget the night of the Ferguson protests in Columbus, when we went to the Union. And I think that like even looking at how shit has played out now, when you have a fucking insurrection and like, oh, I've moved from Ohio now, so I can look at it as less of a bubble than living in it. Like, y'all got some of that shit. Y'all got some wild inbred crazy shit going on there. Like, they're one of the cities that they're guarding the Capitol in. And
Absolutely.
so to be outside of that now and see when we were in it what the outpouring of support was compared to, like, I think this ties into one of the biggest issues in terms of complacency in this entire social conversation up until like a year ago. Because what was it, 2015, 20
With
had to,
Ferguson,
yeah,
14,
2014, I think
14.
2014. It was the night the Ferguson verdict was announced. We were in Columbus, and I think it was the Black Student Union on Twitter had organized it was like a vigil slash just a gathering at the Ohio Union. And on the same night, it was the first year that the Mirror Lake jump in Columbus was banned after the death of a student, as it should have been. But there were groups they had put fencing up around it, and there were groups trying to do an early jump. So this just happened to be the night of like the biggest, I think, Facebook group early jump thing. And as we're walking to the protests at the Union for the Ferguson shit, there are mostly white people running across campus half fucking naked in the middle of the winter to go jump in this lake. And we get to not even on the official day, not that it matters, but it's just like on top of that. And we get to the Union, and I think I was the only white person there, if not maybe one or two other people. Like staggeringly few white people there, especially compared. Like it would have been staggering if that wasn't happening at the same time. But to be watching the motherfuckers like organize in the same exact way that this was organized and just prioritize that was wild.
Yeah,
Like
I
as
mean,
we were
but
walking, I remember watching it and just telling you like, "Yo,
it's
this is
yeah,
nuts."
it's two Americas. It really legit is.
That's it literally was.
Even during the when we was down there for the protests in the summer, uh, kids who are staying downtown in the short north, there's a bunch of protests and they're just in their backyard drinking White Claws, passing the ball around. Yeah, like, oh, whoa, what is this? It's
Yeah.
literally like, and a lot of people just don't pay attention to that sort of thing, or they try to block it out because they don't want to like confront the issue at hand.
Because that's their homie Chad.
But
Like that's
it's
how people
legit.
look at
It's
it.
legit to Americas where people live two different lives, and that's why this is a different thing. But I like living in the city because it's more realistic. In the suburbs, it's a bubble, right? Like I noticed that in the quarry, you can get closed off. You can close off any issue going on in the real world very easily. Like it's like a own little protected little bubble. But in the city, it's real life out here. You can't escape it. As you know, it's everything going on down here. So
Yeah, people freak out when real life is brought to them. That's
yeah,
why
for
that's what the
sure.
suburbs are, is basically a shield from real life. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and even amongst that too, like being on, I don't want to say the front lines, but being right up on the lines of the protest shit, and like we can speak on. I mean, we've had issues with police. Me, obviously, more. We've all had our issues with police in Columbus. I've had you were there when I got arrested and the shit beat out of me by a bunch of police for arguing about your shorts not being too baggy, whatever the initial thing. Like, so we've known the Columbus police are trash, and then show up to this and watch like the insane overreaction. Like we watched the National Guard roll up. What's the worst thing you saw somebody? Was there a water bottle thrown? I think a water bottle. Like
Yeah.
the insane showing out, the insane aggression, badges taped up, like the whole fucking shebang. The mayor, the everybody governing that bitch is a fucking liar and should be fired. Like to watch the false apologizing afterwards, like it was nuts. But then obviously now we have the insurrection and the direct comparison of how those people got treated. And we got treated on the streets of Columbus, Ohio, very far from any building of prominence, much worse than the armed insurrectionists at the Capitol. So to have that direct court, like to have eyes that have shown me the difference, that shit is wild.
Not a
And
single
honestly made me
canister.
happy watching it play out, because now I'm happy that everybody sees that shit.
Yeah, not a single canister of tear gas was thrown at the Capitol.
Nope. And I was out there pouring milk in motherfuckers' eyes for ours. We were just standing there, like insane. So to be a part of that, amongst, again, we're out there with masks, like people are like, how do we even
middle of coronavirus?
Surreal shit. And all of it, I think, led to where we are now. All of this, I think, makes perfect sense to have led where we are. And so it's wild to have kind of like been entangled in the broad narrative of all this shit that's been going on in the last year, to have, attempted to play my part, to have lost a job for, you know, trying to stand up for what I believe in shit, and all this different, the intricacies that I think the pandemic has weaved into everybody's lives is fucking wild. We'll have a few more episodes, I'm sure, on some of that stuff in terms of all that. But other than that, I think, you know, just to kind of catch up to present day now, since then I've been super kind of, to actually bring it back a little bit with that self-care stuff. Everybody, you know, obviously I had Miles text me the other day, tell me he hates the term self-care. I said, well, that's unfortunate because I have it tattooed on my wrists. So
like, I feel him just because, like, I hate, like, trendy, like, when things become trendy, I get what he's saying. Like, obviously, like, taking care of yourself, he doesn't hate that, but, like, just the trendy little
to have
phrases
somebody
that
text
pop
you a
up.
phrase that's on your wrist and be like, man, this shit corny. I definitely had a little Eeyore moment, but you know, it's okay. I'll get over it. But 2020, I think, like, was the first year I really, really like hunkered down into it. The pandemic forced me to at some point, but before that, even I had gotten a little bit heavier into it because I had like friends reach out and just give me good advice on stuff, and I did my own research and a whole bunch of different shit. But last year I started going to therapy. I haven't gone in a minute because they can't operate across state lines, which I did not know until I left. But I went to therapy last year. I tried medication for anxiety for the first time. I've been meditating. What'd I get? I got me, you know what a Tibetan singing bowl is? I'm into all that shit now. Self-care has taken a new meaning for me, even in terms of like just trying shit. Like, we've all been, I think, sitting around figuring all this out so long that now just hearing something that sounds like it could be a cool new part of a routine is just more like appealing at this point. I don't know what it is, just because of the monotony.
Yeah.
But my routine looks nothing like it did a year ago, in a lot of good ways. And I don't know, pandemic wise, to summarize all of it together, all this shit I don't think would have happened without the pandemic, and I don't know that any of it I'm salty at the end of the day. So I know the pandemic has been, I'm not to say it's been a not awful thing. We all navigate it in our own ways and shit, but I think I'm proud of myself for how I've navigated it, especially amongst all this wild shit going on. I think anybody that's gotten to this point and is still sane probably deserves some credit.
Yeah. Like, in the summertime, I definitely was hiking a lot. Me and my girl was just hiking. Like, what do you want to do today? Let's go on a 5-mile hike. How about that? And then you just feel better. You know what I mean? Like,
I went on a run this morning. A run. This morning.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
Yeah.
But I think it has put us all just put us up to a big mirror. And I think part of that too, that wouldn't have happened without this, speaking on inaugural and just everything, is I don't think we would have been able to take the turn we're about to take tomorrow. We're recording this on the night before the inauguration, fucking finally. And I don't think we would have ended up with a new president, but also I don't think we would have necessarily ended up with Black Lives Matter being as powerful as it is right now, and with corporations being as weak as they are in terms of being able to uphold status quos and shit, and just people speaking up. So I don't know, this shit, talking all of it out is interesting because not all of that sounded like horrible things for the planet. So shit, I don't know, shit finds a way of working itself out sometimes, and we're going to be turning the corner tomorrow. But in terms of how, you know, everything has played out so far, it could be worse for me. But yeah, so now that we're all kind of caught up on us, you know me fairly well at this point, better than a lot of motherfuckers do if you hearing this. So what we're going to be bringing you guys from here on out every week, it's not always going to be this heavy. Sometimes it will be. I want to definitely touch on, I think, male mental health, especially mental health in general. But with men, mental health is just not a very broadly discussed thing. What's going on in our lives and shit, I don't think we talk about enough too. So I'm not necessarily going to keep all that completely out of here anymore. We're definitely going to be less political. That we're very committed to that. For those of y'all that wanted more policy and who signed what shit that we had last time, that was out of necessity because we felt like we needed to save the fucking world. And now that hopefully politicians can do their jobs and we can just chill and have a podcast about some music and social shit and whatnot, we can kind of ignore that. I would love to ignore politics again. I didn't know how I didn't know until, I don't think most people did, that the electoral college votey thing was even a thing where we had to open envelopes and whatnot. I don't think anybody doesn't know that shit now. So I would imagine we all would like to not know how a lot of this shit works anymore and allow these motherfuckers to just to provide us a country that's not in fucking shambles.
And if you do, there's some cool podcasts out there on YouTube. You can find them. They specialize in that sort of thing. So
yeah, but we don't.
Right.
We can get into movies. We'll get into all kinds of different shit. We always touch on a bunch of interesting things. They lead to some interesting tangents. I know we're gonna have some guests on. I know we haven't done that too much in the past. Really talented group of friends I have, and just really talented people that were around that are experts on a whole lot of interesting shit. So we're gonna bring that on here. Lots of different stuff for you guys. Me and Trey been doing this, so we're excited to be back. Excited to just keep you guys caught up, give you some entertainment during this time. Once events are a thing again, we'll be out there with you guys too. But until then, I know Trey, we're gonna get to this next one here. I know you got some hot takes on the Browns here. So until then, that is episode 1 of Blake's Take 2. It's Blake and Trey. You have allowed us to reintroduce ourselves. We will be back next time. Thank you.